You will become like us.
I will not become like you.
Have some pollen.
I am one of you, and strangely happy about it without causing any problems to me psychologically. Hello and welcome to another episode of TrekHammer, where we're talking about every single episode of Star Trek from the beginning right through to the modern episodes. Today we're talking about Season 1, Episode 24, This Side of Paradise. So this is an interesting one because it's a very slow episode, but it keeps you going with it. I was actually surprised because it's not an episode that I generally come back to. It's one of those where, given the choice, I would probably skip it because in my mind it's one of the boring, not really progressing the storyline type of episodes. But when you see it, it's compelling to a certain extent. So the crew have come to this planet where they're not expecting to find anyone alive, but they've got to go and check just in case and basically make sure that anyone that's there that somehow managed to survive the deadly radiation that's there can get the medical attention that they need, and that they can clear up the colony and take the stuff that they need to away to use somewhere else. But what they find is a complete community. There's a farm, there's fields, there's no livestock, which is a plot point. But they're growing what they need to sustain their community. They haven't really developed that far, but it's only been 3 years. They've got buildings that look nice. So it's the start of a community, essentially. So Kirk and them have beamed down and they're looking around. And they're very, very surprised because every single person on that planet is in perfect health, despite the fact that it is being bombarded by deadly radiation that the Federation did not know was a problem when the community was settled. Spock actually says, and I think McCoy says it as well, you can last a week of being bombarded with this stuff before you die. So you're going to get the effects reasonably quickly, and then you're gone, essentially. But these guys have been there for 3 years, and not only are they still in perfect health, some of them have regrown some lost organs. One of them had an appendix taken out, but he's got his appendix again now when McCoy does a routine checkup. And that's really the impetus for the crew really getting in there going, what is going on here? This doesn't seem right. Something's wrong. Either these aren't the original colonists, or something on the planet is protecting them. But the colonists don't want to explain what's going on, and more importantly, they don't want to leave. They're perfectly happy with what's there. They don't care that their animals died. They've decided, oh, it's okay. We went vegetarian. It's perfectly fine. We're having a good life. We're fine here. Which, yeah, that would be okay. Except for the rest of what happens. Because one of the colonists, a woman, looks at Mr. Spock and remembers him because they had a relationship of some sort. Well, at least she wanted a stronger relationship before she went off with the colony. And now he's here. And one of the colonists says to her when they're alone, you like him, don't you? Of course I do. I used to know him. I wanted a relationship with him. You want him to stay, don't you? Well, yes, but I don't think he wants to. Oh, don't worry. He's going to stay. Right, so something's going on. These colonists are keeping something back, and clearly it's something dangerous, because if you're having to plan to stay and then to bring others in, potentially against their will is the implication, then something's going on that shouldn't be going on. They get Mr. Spock away from the rest of the landing party and infect him with spores from a plant. Now, the woman that does this is very surprised because Mr. Spock is actually in pain when he gets infected with this stuff. He's having a lot of trouble. And she says, oh, it never did this to us. And Spock points out, quite rightly, he's not like them, he's an alien. But then all of a sudden, it's fine, and he's okay. He feels good. In fact, he feels better than good. He feels happy, which is a very, very bad sign. Spock can't lose control of his emotions. We've known that as Star Trek fans pretty much all our lives now. Spock has to control his emotions because Vulcans have problems expressing emotion. It hurts them. It causes problems. But he's perfectly fine expressing his emotions. Moreover, he doesn't want to do anything that Kirk tells him to anymore. So, Mr. Spock, come and meet us. Nah, can't be bothered. That's his response, essentially. So, not only is this, whatever it is, these spores, this plant or whatever, starting to give them the ability to withstand the radiation, it's also changing their minds. And this is a very bad thing, because the crew are starting to get infected because one of the other people on the landing party is starting to bring back plants to the landing zone and having them beamed up to the ship. Suddenly, when Kirk gets back, he finds that no one wants to listen to what he's doing, and everyone on the ship is now lining up to beam down to the planet and join the colony. It's almost like Invasion of the Body Snatchers pod people style influence. It's very cult-like, but it's cult-like using essentially a narcotic. So it's really well done. We end up with Kirk alone at the end of the episode on the ship, and then he gets hit with one of the spores. And at first, when he gets hit with the spores on the planet, he doesn't get affected, but everyone else does. On the ship, he does get affected, and he gets angry about this. And that's the thing. We had a clue earlier on about why he didn't get affected. He was annoyed with Spock, like seriously angry, that Spock wasn't dealing with the situation properly, wasn't answering his communicator, was telling Kirk that he wasn't going to do things, and Kirk was getting riled up. Everyone else was just going along like, what's going on? This seems a bit strange. Kirk is like, no, I'm going to sort this out now. So when they all get hit with the spores, Kirk wasn't affected because he was angry. He had strong emotions, and strong emotions kill the spores, which kind of feeds into why it was keeping them all calm, placid, and happy. So on the ship, he gets annoyed, and the spell breaks, essentially, and he realizes what's going on. So he convinces Spock to beam up to the ship. He needs help bringing the last of the stuff down because, as he says, once there's no one on the ship, we can't beam back up again. So I need you to come and help me get the last few pieces because we won't be able to get it afterward. So Spock goes, yeah, all right, I'll come up and help you since you're on our side now. And then Kirk starts to insult Spock again and again and again, riling Spock up. And this is, I think, where the bit in Star Trek 2009 on the bridge of the Enterprise where Kelvin version of Kirk is going,
it must not even compute for you. You never loved her.
It's from this episode. I hadn't realised because, like I say, every time I'm doing a rewatch of old Trek, I tended to skip this one because I always thought it was just a silly episode. But no, it's pivotal to the character of Spock and also to a certain extent the character of Kirk. He gets angry because his ship is under threat. For Kirk, the ship, the crew, they're kind of intertwined, but especially the ship. The ship is his child. It's his baby. It's perhaps even his wife. I don't know, but it's part of him. It's part of his family. If it's hurt, he's hurt. That kind of thing. So he got angry about the ship and the fact that he can't even fly it anymore. It's very much Kirk and Spock's pivotal episode for how they view the world and how they view themselves. And I hadn't realised that until I watched it again. I gave it a chance. And that's one of the things that has come out of this rewatch more than anything else. Old Star Trek is great, providing you give it a chance. Because these days it looks different, it acts different to everything else in the franchise, especially modern Trek. Classic original Trek is so different to modern Trek. So anyone coming to modern Trek, you have to give the old one a chance, and then it grows on you and you see what it is for what it was actually trying to do and what it was actually trying to say. This is a pivotal episode. I still think it's a bit slow, but I understand its position in what made Trek so good. So for that reason, I have to give it at least Warp Factor 7.5. Warp Factor 7.5, Mr. Sulu. Guys, what do you think about this one? I think it was actually quite well acted. Seeing Spock happy and a bit, well, off, essentially. Leonard Nimoy portrays Spock so well, so that when you see him smiling, it's like, whoa, that's weird. So I think it was well acted, it's quite well directed. It's a really good episode, but it is slow. And that's what really knocks it down a little bit in the hierarchy in terms of the rankings and the overall score. But what do you think, guys? Do you think it's as good as I've made out? Do you think it is one that people are right to skip over? I used to skip over it. I don't think I will anymore, though. But I do want to hear your views. So if you could leave them in the comment section down below, that would be wonderful. Let's have a conversation about Star Trek. But until next time, I've been Zoe Kirk Robinson. You've been watching TrekHammer. Live long and prosper. I'll see you next time. If you like the show, please consider supporting me on Patreon. It really does help create future videos. That's patreon.com/Zoe Kirk Robinson. And I've got an extra special thanks going out to Chief 89, Sam Yates, Retro Mickey 82, Mo Henry, and George Botterini. Thank you so much, guys.